Hey everyone, Emmanuel here. So I'm going to start to get into some of the more fine-tuning and maybe more abstract concepts with breathing and or breath work as it's been titled. So lots of breathing work that you've seen is big stuff like walking and breathing, running and breathing, push-ups and breathing. So these we're connecting the breath with movement, and these are, to be honest with you, bigger movements, right? So you're, first you feel your breath, and then you add your breath and movement that you make in ordinary daily life. And now what I want you to do is go like less. So now, I'll kind of give you some examples now, but just to think of it if you could do nothing else but pay attention to the movement of breath. So what would move in breath? So if you think of where your lungs are situated in your body, and you think of them as balloons, right? And as you breathe in, there's like an inhalation that inflates the lungs, and that is going to put pressure on internal and kind of fill you up like a balloon, right? And that very small movement is super interesting to me because it is almost like the movement of life, because for a parent who's had a kid, and you look in the room, and especially a newborn, right, your parents are usually worried, and kids sleeping, and they're looking, and how do you know are they alive? Like something, for parents, they think funny things. They look over and they're like, you see the chest coming up and going down, and you see life, right? Like that's really the movement of life. I coined it, so to speak. It's like, it's such a small movement, but it's such an important movement, right? It's the one that does give you life. So I'd like you guys to pay attention to that now. So it's best to do it from a lying down position, and then a standing position or seated position is also fine. But what you're gonna feel is how your body rises. It's very small, might even be like a half an inch or a quarter inch. It's a small in, and then there's an out, right? So let me bring this camera down towards the ground, and we can kind of see it together, right? So as I'm lying down, right, just like this, don't know if it'll be visible on camera, but it might be, right? So as I'm super comfortable, so first thing I do when I lie down is symmetrically align myself. So I try to imagine is 50% of my weight on the left, 50% of my weight on the right, pretty much up and down the same thing. So I try to balance or level myself like a grid as much as I can, and also feel comfortable. And then as I start to breathe in, I don't know if you'll see it on camera, but as I breathe in, there's a rise of my chest. And as I breathe out, there's a lowering of my chest. And kind of feel that feeling of inhale, a rise, and then exhale down. And it's almost, I try to get it to the point where it's like a wave. Like it's very predictable, and it's very calming as well. Now you can even place your hands if you want to feel it, but you'll feel it inside, right? It's a very small movement, right? Now what I'm trying to do now is see if I can find the same thing towards my stomach. So as I breathe in, you can see my stomach rising. As I breathe out, I lower it. Now, it's important here to not physically try to make this happen. Just think about your stomach. And just bring your attention towards, or your focus towards your stomach. And just by doing that, it'll rise, right? Some analogy I can give you, if when you're driving a car, and if it goes out of control, especially in the wintertime, it starts to go towards a ditch or something. What do they tell you in driving school? Don't look at the ditch. Look where you want to go. Like, just bring your attention, and the whole car will follow that direction. Because when you're breathing, if you think about your stomach, your attention goes there, and you'll feel it in your stomach, okay? So you don't have to do too much other than just bring focus. Inside I say stomach, and my focus goes there, and I feel the rise. or chest, and I feel the rise. So there's four specific spots that I work on when I'm doing this work. It's the chest, the stomach, the ribs, and the back. Now, the back is interesting because the back, you'll feel a pressure. So as I breathe in, it's like my lungs are pushing. So I feel a pressure onto the mat. So I feel like my back is being pushed into the mat a little bit. But again, I'm not trying to do this. It's just because the lungs are filling up, they're applying pressure down. When I'm thinking of my chest, it's applying pressure up. Ribs are interesting as well because they do open up sideways. So as soon as I say to myself ribs, all of a sudden I feel them growing east and west or left and right. I'll just see if I'll kind of walk you through what I do. I'll just say what's on my mind. This way you can kind of hear my thought process. So again, I'm comfortable. And as I breathe in, I say chest and out. And I don't know, I might do that for who knows how long. There's no real set time to it. And then I say to myself stomach, and I can feel my stomach rising, and then ribs. And then back. And then at the end, I try to make everything. So I want to bring my attention to the whole body. So as I breathe in, I feel out, up, down, left. Like I feel everything expanding and being pushed out at once. And out, it comes down. So this is a wonderful way of understanding how to get to know your breathing and your lungs, which is the main driver of the breath, right? The lungs. So it really helps me a lot understand the very essence of breathing, because we say breathing, but we need to materialize it a tiny bit more. And we say movement, but we need to understand the small movements, not just the big movements, right? Now, these are just, this I can kind of feel. Like this becomes like, I can feel the rise of my chest, the rise of my stomach, the pressure on the ribs and the pressure on the back. I actually feel that. Now what I want to do is start to take this concept of my lungs and move it towards, let's say, my arms. So if you could imagine moving your lungs out of your chest and putting one lung in each arm. And the feeling should be that it's just a feeling. It might not be actually how it is, but it's a feeling. And the feeling for me is as real as the rise of my chest. So I've got such a good feeling on my lungs and movements, small movements, that I start to detect those in my arms. So as I'm lying here, you know, my arms may be outstretched. It might be easier to feel it this way. As I breathe in and I breathe out, I try to feel like my lungs are in my arms. And, you know, guys, as sure as anything, it feels like they're filling up. Now, they might not actually be, but it feels like it, which is what's important. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with my legs. It's like I try to visualize my lungs in my legs as it fills up, and then as I breathe out, it feels like they're going down, like deflating. And then lastly, I unite the whole body. So the whole body is like one big lung. Awesome. Now, I can only suggest that you do this kind of stuff either first thing in the morning or early in the morning. I find that you're the calmest. Otherwise, your mind starts to get busy with thoughts during the day. Or at nighttime, if you want to calm down. It brings you down, you know, put it as the most important thing, and the thing that you do the most of in your life is breathe. Like we do that a lot. And it might take 2 minutes, it might take 10, 20 minutes, whatever you decide to dictate to it. But you'll be amazed at how you're tuning in to the movement of breath, the actual movement, the only necessary movement of breath in your body, and passing that feeling around to all parts of your body. right? And at one point you are, like when you breathe into your lungs, oxygenated blood is being oxygenated and then pumped throughout the body. So you actually are breathing into your whole body. So wonderful feeling. And I believe it's the very essence of internal work to understand very subtle movements inside yourself, because no matter how still we try to make ourselves, there always is a movement, guys. It's not possible to be completely still. I think only when we're dead, I think. So there is a subtle movement, and you're tapping into that subtle movement. Very interesting work, and it will calm you down. It will bring a depth to your work that I haven't found in other aspects. Just this calming effect where tomorrow you'll see just a little bit calmer in those tense and tight situations. You're able to find a little bit more inner peace. For those real competitive athletes and guys that are, or girls as well, that, you know, the moments before a big game or big events, there's lots of tension, and you need to be able to calm yourself down. This helped me a lot, find calmness under pressure, not just calmness with like a Zen state where I'm not aware. I'm very aware of everything going on, but I'm able to enjoy the little movements that my body has as much as the big movements. Sometimes we just think big movements like running or jumping is satisfying. Sometimes these little movements are also very important to all of us. Now, there's another concept as well, and it's much more abstract, and maybe some people think it's crazy, but you can try it and judge for yourself. So as I'm lying on the floor, but it can be standing or seated as well, I try to take the feeling, like I can feel my body now, I again, maybe it's not, but I have a feeling of my body moving like a lung. That's important. And then what I try to do now is I try to say to myself, I want to feel the ground that I'm on. So whatever's touching the ground, from lying down, whatever's touching the ground, I try to feel that space. Now, because I'm touching it, of course I can feel it. I feel my heels, my butt, my back, my head that's resting on the ground, my shoulders, my arms. Like, not all parts are touching, but whatever it's touching, I want to feel the ground that I'm touching. And I try to breathe to that. So I try to see if I can channel my breathing to the parts that are touching the floor. And then, if I'm successful there, I try to bring my awareness to maybe like a 1 meter space around me. So if it's at the gym, it's the mats, right? So I might be lying on a mat, and I'm trying to breathe like I'm breathing into that mat. And I know it sounds funny, guys, but again, I'm passing my awareness to something else. And then if I feel that, I try to pass my attention to the entire floor, or maybe the room that I'm in. So it's like I'm breathing to the floor that I'm touching on the room, not just what I'm physical, but the whole floor space. So at the Fight Club, it would be, all 3,000 square feet. Like, I'm trying to feel the whole floor. So it's like I'm breathing. It's like I'm breathing. The floor is like a lung, right? And then I'm successful there, I try to breathe to the room. And the feeling for me is, as I breathe in, it's like the room, I know it's not, but it's like an idea that the room is filling up, like stretching. And then as I breathe in, the whole room's closing a little bit in. Not like a huge, just a little bit. So it's like I'm taking air and I'm giving air. Then if that's successful, you can even spread it further. And this is a real interesting thing, because as a teacher, especially when you're teaching a class, you can pass good energy to the room. You can, for good feelings. I mean, I've seen it. We've all seen it. A guy comes into a room, not necessarily martial arts, could just be out, and he's just so happy or so joyous, smiling, and it just fills the whole room. Say, wow, he lights up the room, like literally passes his energy to the room, and you can feel it. And also vice versa. People can come in and pass also negative things as well. We all understand that. Like, you hear when somebody bakes food, and it's baked with love. You can feel it. I mean, I can for sure. If my grandmother were to make some food, nothing but love from food she makes, and you can actually feel it. Now, maybe again, some people don't believe in this, but until you've experienced it, then you understand. It is a skill set. It is something to be able to pass good feelings to people is definitely trainable. It's not going to be something people are comfortable with because they think it's heebie-jeebie, but I've seen it too many times in my real life, and it's easy just to say it's garbage. But if somebody is very aware of themselves and they're very aware of the situation, they can control it beyond your belief. I fully believe that. I've seen it in sports. In Toronto, we had this. It was amazing how a good player, to me, a really good player, is not just a good player for himself, but maybe he's highly skilled, but he's able to pass the energy, the confidence, the skills to make everybody around him amazing. Now, how did he do that? I've seen it. A team that's average or a perfect example. Look at the Toronto Raptors, right? They were an excellent team, but they were missing that piece. And then they ended up getting Kawhi Leonard, a quiet guy, but super skilled, super talented, but a very quiet guy. Didn't make a lot of noise. A lot of people were bothered by how quiet he was, but he quietly passed everybody on the team such incredible confidence. And we know because we saw this team play for many years. They didn't have that confidence. But all of a sudden, this quiet, skilled player comes on the team and doesn't absorb a lot of minutes. He's not a limelight hog. He spread confidence and to the whole team. And they all did things that they never would have normally done. And we watched it in Toronto. We watched it. It was remarkable to see how confidence and power and awareness can be passed to people and things outside of yourself. Again, very strong person to do that, and has to really be into themselves. And once they have that skill set, they're able to then pass it to other people, or situations for that matter. It's trainable. So start lying down or seated, and again, do the internal work, like I showed, the movements of the breathing to the body, and then pass your attention around your body, and then see if you can pass your attention to stuff like a floor, like a wall. So if I'm staring at the wall behind me, for me, it's like I breathe in, and I'm focusing like I'm breathing at that wall. And again, at first, maybe it doesn't sound realistic, but if you focus enough and you relax enough, you'll actually feel and you'll actually see that how you can make the wall breathe. At least, maybe not, but you feel like you can. And the feeling is the most important, right? To me, feeling trumps knowing. If you feel it, you know it. So try to see if you can develop that, guys. I can only tell you I've worked it for 3 years, and it's pretty good now. I feel really good with it. It's an interesting skill set, and it opens up your influence on a room. It opens up a deeper, quieter understanding of situational awareness and feeling, intuition work. It's really gateway work to that kind of thing, because a bad thing has a feeling, and that's how you detect it. So this is like, again, I'm not working on building muscles, and it's a feeling I'm developing, and that's going to take some patience and some deep reflection and some understanding. So very difficult concept. I debated whether I put it in here, but I know it's worked for me, and that's maybe good enough, I guess, that hopefully you can develop that skill set and maybe dig deeper into this topic and see how other great masters work with this concept, okay? I hope you enjoyed it, and I have a few more things under breathwork. I'll keep adding to the video series, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you practice it and ask me questions anytime. Take care.